I'm reading today from Aion, Researches into the Phenomenology of the Self by Dr. C.G. Jung. I'm reading from Chapter 3, the Syzygy, Anima and Animus. This is the fourth part. Paragraph 36. Although there are, in my experience, a fair number of people who can understand without special intellectual or moral difficulties what is meant by anima and animus, one finds very many more who have the greatest trouble in visualizing these empirical concepts as anything concrete. This shows that they fall a little outside the usual range of experience. They are unpopular precisely because they seem unfamiliar. The consequence is that they mobilize prejudice and become taboo like everything else that is unexpected. Paragraph 37. So if we set up as a kind of requirement that projection should be dissolved, because it is wholesomer that way and in every respect more advantageous, we are entering upon new ground. Up until now, everybody has been convinced that the idea my father, my mother, etc., is nothing but a faithful reflection of the real parent, corresponding in every detail to the original, so that when someone says my father, he means no more and no less than what his father is in reality. This is actually what he supposes he does mean. But a supposition of identity by no means brings that identity about. This is where the fallacy of the veiled one comes in. If one includes in the psychological equation X's picture of his father, which he takes for the real father, the equation will not work out because the unknown quantity he has introduced does not tally with reality. X has overlooked the fact that his idea of a person consists, in the first place, of the possibly very incomplete picture he has received of the real person, and, in the second place, of the subjective modifications he has imposed upon this picture. X's idea of his father is a complex quantity for which the real father is only in part responsible, an indefinitely larger share falling to the son. So true is this that every time he criticizes or praises his father, he is unconsciously hitting back at himself, thereby bringing about those psychic consequences that overtake people who habitually disparage or overpraise themselves. If, however, X carefully compares his reactions with reality, he stands a chance of noticing that he has miscalculated somewhere by not realizing long ago from his father's behavior that the picture he has of him is a false one. But as a rule, X is convinced that he is right, and if anybody is wrong, it must be the other fellow. Should X have a poorly developed eros, he will be either indifferent to the inadequate relationship he has with his father, or else annoyed by the inconsistency and general incomprehensibility of a father whose behavior never really corresponds to the picture X has of him. Therefore, X thinks he has every right to feel hurt, misunderstood, and even betrayed. There was a footnote to the veiled one, which is, the fallacy which stems from Eubulides the Megarian runs, quote, "Can you recognize your father? Question mark. Unquote. Yes. Quote, can you recognize this veiled one? Question mark. Unquote. No. Quote, this veiled one is your father, hence you can recognize your father and not recognize him. Unquote. Paragraph 38. One can imagine how desirable it would be in such cases to dissolve the projection. And there are always optimists who believe that the golden age can be ushered in simply by telling people the right way to go. But just let them try to explain to these people that they are acting like a dog chasing its own tail. To make people see the shortcomings of his attitude, considerably more than mere telling is needed, for more is involved than ordinary common sense can allow. What one is up against here is the kind of fateful misunderstanding which, under ordinary conditions, remains forever inaccessible to insight. It is rather like expecting the average respectable citizen to recognize himself as a criminal. Paragraph 39. Paragraph 39. I mention all this just to illustrate the order of magnitude to which the anima animus projections belong, and the moral and intellectual exertions that are needed to dissolve them. Not all the contents of the anima and animus are projected, however. Many of them appear spontaneously in dreams and so on, and many more can be made conscious through active imagination. In this way, we find that thoughts, feelings, and effects are alive in us, which we would never have believed possible. Naturally, possibilities of this sort seem utterly fantastic to anyone who has not experienced them himself, for a normal person knows what he thinks. But a childish attitude on the part of the normal person is simply the rule, so that no one without experience in this field can be expected to understand the real nature of anima and animus. With these reflections, one gets into an entirely new world of psychological experience, provided, of course, that no one succeeds in realizing it in practice. Those who do succeed can hardly fail to be impressed by all that the ego does not know and never has known. This increase in self-knowledge is still very rare nowadays and is usually paid for in advance with a neurosis, if not with something worse.